This quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson invites us to dive deep into the paradox of helping. Have you ever wondered whether the help you offer sometimes does not bear the desired fruit or even has unwanted consequences? The universe has led you here to explore these deeper insights. Helping is considered one of the noblest actions. We are socially and emotionally wired in such a way that the support of others brings us fulfillment and joy. But as with everything in life, there is also a downside here that is often overlooked. It is possible that our well-intentioned efforts can sometimes bring more harm than benefit, both for others and for ourselves. In this video, we will explore 7 specific ways in which assistance can lead to negative effects. 1. Excessive self-confidence, when helping leads to self-neglect. 2. Prevent authorization, if too much help undermines the independence of others. 3. Crossing borders, if our desire to help disregards the personal boundaries of others. 4. Helper syndrome, when the identity in helping is lost and leads to psychological stress. 5. Manipulation through help, if help is used as a means of control or manipulation. 6. Unintended consequences, if our help does not bring the hoped-for positive results. 7. Wrong help, when our help says more about our own needs than those of others. Now that we have introduced the topic, we will next talk about the profound effects of excessive selflessness and how it can affect not only our well-being, but also our ability to help effectively. How many times have you set aside your own needs to help others? This act of selflessness, as noble as it may seem, carries profound dangers if it is not practiced with mindfulness. Paradoxically, excessive selflessness can lead to a state in which you are less capable of effectively helping others because you have exhausted your own resources. Dangers of neglecting one's own needs. Neglecting one's own needs in favor of the needs of others can represent a creeping danger that is often recognized too late. If you regularly ignore your own physical, emotional, or psychological needs to help others, you risk serious consequences for your health and well-being. This type of self-neglect can lead to chronic stress, exhaustion and, in the worst case, to complete burnout. Examples of the consequences of excessive selflessness. 1. Burnout. One of the most common consequences of excessive selflessness is burnout. This state of total exhaustion arises when you continuously go beyond your limits, without sufficient recovery or recognition. People in healthcare or in nursing professions are particularly at risk, but anyone who continuously sacrifices themselves can be affected. 2. Resignation. In the long term, the continuous neglect of one's own needs can lead to feelings of resignation. You could develop the feeling that your own goals and dreams are unattainable because your energy is constantly used to help others. This can lead to deep dissatisfaction with one's own life. 3. Deterioration of relationships. Ironically, excessive selflessness can also have a negative impact on your relationships. If you constantly neglect yourself, others may begin to take this for granted, or you could begin to have resentment because your victims are not adequately appreciated. In order to avoid these pitfalls, it is crucial to find a healthy balance between helping others and caring for yourself. This means setting limits, regularly paying attention to your own needs, and ensuring that your energy reserves are also replenished. In the next section, we will talk about how excessive help can prevent the empowerment of others and the importance of enabling others to find their own solutions. When we help others, we often do so out of a deep desire to alleviate their suffering or improve their situation. But what if our help unintentionally leads them to become more dependent instead of independent? In this section, we explore how much help can undermine the empowerment of others and why it is crucial to leave room for self-determination and one's own solutions. Undermining independence by too much help. Too much help can be a subtle trap. If we constantly intervene and solve problems for others, we deprive them of the opportunity to develop their own skills and gain confidence in their own solution strategies. This can lead to a state in which those in need of help are in a permanent dependence on external support, which impairs their ability to self-determination and personal development. Examples of the negative effects of excessive help. 1. Parents and children. A classic example is the helicopter parents phenomenon, in which parents intervene so strongly in the lives of their children that they have difficulty developing independence and self-confidence. Children who have never learned to deal with challenges can struggle with independence and resilience in adulthood. 2. Charity work. In humanitarian aid, the continuous provision of resources without the involvement of local communities can lead to these communities remaining dependent and not developing sustainable methods of self-help. The importance of giving others the opportunity to find their own solutions. It is crucial to find a balance between support and empowerment. Here are some approaches to how this can be achieved. Capacity building. Instead of specifying solutions, work to strengthen the skills of others so that they can master their own challenges in the long term. Empowerment promotes self-confidence and independence by providing resources, education, and support that empower people to make their own decisions and solve their own problems. Participatory approaches. In every form of help, the focus should be on actively involving those affected in the problem-solving process. This not only promotes independence, but also a sense of personal responsibility and pride. By giving others the tools and confidence to develop their own solutions, we not only promote their independence, but also a more sustainable and profound change. Next, we will look at the problems that arise when we cross personal and interpersonal boundaries when helping. Helping is a virtue driven by compassion and empathy. But even in these noble aspirations, it is crucial to recognize and respect clear boundaries. In this section, we deal with the importance of borders in the context of helping and the potential conflicts that can arise if these boundaries are ignored. The importance of borders in helping. Limits in the context of helping are essential to ensure that both the helpers and the recipients benefit from the interaction and are not harmed. These boundaries help to protect the well-being of all parties involved and ensure that the help remains effective and respectful. They also serve to preserve the autonomy of the individual and to avoid dependencies that can result from excessive interference. Consequences of ignoring borders. 1. Personal conflicts. If helpers do not recognize or respect their own limits, they can feel overworked and exploited. This can lead to resentments that affect both their own health and their relationships. 2. Interpersonal conflicts. Crossing borders can also lead to discomfort and conflicts for those who receive help. People can feel overwhelmed or controlled, which is the opposite of the intended effect of assistance. 3. Loss of self-determination. If helpers constantly cross boundaries, this can lead to aid recipients staying in a passive role in which they rely on external help instead of developing and implementing their own solutions. How to effectively set and respect boundaries. Communication is the key. It is important to communicate openly and honestly about your own limits and the needs of others. This creates a basis of understanding and respect. Allow independence. Promote independence by offering support that aims to empower others to act independently instead of solving problems for them. Be aware of feedback. Pay attention to the verbal and nonverbal feedback from those you support. This can help you recognize whether you may be crossing boundaries. Practicing self-reflection. Regularly check your motives when helping. This can help you to better align your actions and ensure that you help for the right reasons and do not project your own emotional or psychological needs on others. By learning to set and respect boundaries, we not only protect ourselves and others, but also ensure that our assistance has the greatest possible positive effect. Next, we will investigate the phenomenon of helper syndrome and how it can affect those who regularly help others. The helper syndrome is a concept that is often discussed in psychological and therapeutic contexts to describe an excessive tendency to help that goes beyond the healthy level. In this section, we explore what makes the helper syndrome, how it develops and what effects it can have on the mental health of the helping person. Definition and development of the helper syndrome. Helper syndrome describes a situation in which a person gets a large part of his self-esteem from the role of helper. People with helper syndrome often feel deeply obliged to help others, even if this is at the expense of their own needs. This tendency can come from various psychological roots, including low self-esteem, a need for recognition, or previous experiences that have taught them that their own needs are less important than those of others. Effects of helper syndrome on mental health. 1. Burnout. One of the most common problems associated with the helper syndrome is the burnout. The continuous psychological and emotional stress associated with constant giving without sufficient self-care can lead to exhaustion. 2. Anxiety and depression. In the long term, the helper syndrome can also lead to anxiety and depression. If helpers realize that despite their efforts, they cannot solve all problems, or if they feel that they do not receive enough recognition for their efforts, they can feel discouragement and hopelessness. 3. Neglect of their own needs. People with helper syndrome tend to neglect their own physical, emotional, and social needs. This neglect can lead to various health problems, from chronic stress to serious physical illnesses. 4. Relationship conflicts. The constant focusing on the needs of others can also lead to conflicts in personal relationships. Partners or family members may feel neglected or frustrated by the constant need of the helper to take care of others. In order to effectively manage the helper syndrome, it is important to develop an awareness of your own limits and needs. This can be achieved through therapeutic support, self-reflection, and the learning of self-care techniques. It is also crucial to find a balance between giving and receiving in interpersonal relationships. Next, we will investigate how help can sometimes be abused as a means of manipulation or control and how to recognize and react to such situations. Providing help is often an act of kindness, but unfortunately in some cases it can also be used as a subtle form of manipulation or control. In this section, we will explore how help can be abused to manipulate others and which warning signs can indicate it. How help is used for manipulation. Help can be used as a tool for manipulative purposes if it serves to bring the recipients into a position of dependence or guilt. Manipulators often offer help or urge their support, not because they really have the well-being of the other in mind, but because they want to gain a strategic advantage from it. You can then use this help to make demands, exert influence, or get the recipients to behave in a certain way that benefits the helper. Examples of manipulative help. 1. Excessive insistence. A person repeatedly offers his help, even after he has been rejected, and imposes himself in order to create a debt or obligation. 2. Conditional help. Help is offered, but linked to conditions that favor the helper. For example, someone could offer help in the household, but in return demands inappropriate personal favors. 3. Create a sense of obligation. The help is presented in such a way that the recipient feels extremely obliged to give something back, often in a way that is disproportionate to the help originally provided. Warning signs for manipulative help. Discomfort at the recipient of help. If the help offered regularly causes discomfort, stress, or the feeling of overstrain, this can be a sign of manipulative help. Unbalanced reciprocity. Pay attention to whether the relationship is strongly unbalanced, with a person who constantly gives, or pretends to give, and another who feels compelled to constantly receive and repay. Secrecy or pressure. Manipulative helpers tend to exert pressure or disguise their true motives. They can exert pressure or apply emotional abuse to achieve their goals. It is important to be aware of these dynamics and to actively take steps to recognize and address such patterns in relationships. Setting clear boundaries and promoting open communication can help prevent manipulation through help and promote healthier relationships. Next, we will explore the unintended consequences that can arise if help does not bring the desired positive results. Help is often well-intentioned, but the results can sometimes be unexpected or even harmful. In this section, we discuss various situations in which help does not have the intended positive effects and emphasize the importance of a careful assessment of the potential consequences of each assistance. Situations with unintended consequences. 1. Overprotection. By continuously helping someone and solving all problems for them, we could unintentionally undermine their ability to develop self-confidence and act independently. This overprotection can lead to a dependency in which the person feels insecure about making their own decisions or overcoming challenges without help. 2. Cultural inappropriateness. In cross-border or intercultural aid situations, what is considered helpful in one culture can be perceived as inappropriate or disrespectful in another. This can lead to misunderstandings and tensions and worsen rather than improve the situation. 3. Exacerbation of existing problems. Sometimes help offered without a complete understanding of the underlying problems can actually exacerbate these problems. For example, offering financial assistance without strategies for the sustainable improvement of the economic situation can lead to recipients remaining in a cycle of dependence. Importance of assessing the impact of assistance. In order to avoid unintentional negative consequences, it is crucial to carefully weigh the potential consequences of any assistance. Thorough needs analysis. Understanding what the person or community really needs is the first step to help effectively. This often requires a thorough analysis and the involvement of those affected in the planning process. Consider long-term effects. Assess not only the short-term effects of your help, but also the long-term consequences. Make sure that your support empowers recipients and does not make them dependent in a way that hinders their long-term development and independence. Feedback and customization. Be open to feedback from the help recipients and ready to customize your approaches accordingly. This helps to ensure that your help is as effective and customized as possible. By taking these factors into account, you can reduce the likelihood that your help will lead to unintentional negative results. Next, we will look at how help is sometimes offered in a way that says more about the needs of the helper than those of the recipient. In our endeavor to help, it is crucial that we ask ourselves whether our help is really in the best interest of the other person or whether it primarily serves our own needs. This chapter sheds light on the differences between real and false help and emphasizes the importance of reflecting on one's own motives when helping. Real help versus wrong help. Real help is selfless and tailored to the needs of the recipient. It respects the autonomy of the recipient and aims to improve his situation without expecting anything in return. Wrong help, on the other hand, although it is often masked as help, can actually correspond more to the needs or wishes of the helper. It can be manipulative by pushing the recipients into a guilt or dependence, or it can simply be a means for the helper to feel better or superior. Examples of wrong help. 1. Helping as a means of self-enhancing. Sometimes people help to increase their own self-esteem or to get recognition from others. In such cases, the help can say more about the helper and his needs than about the actual needs of the recipient. 2. Help to exercise control. In some relationships, help can be used as a means to exercise control or power over another person. This is particularly problematic in unequal power relations, as they sometimes occur in family or romantic relationships. Reflection on the motives behind one's own help. To ensure that your help is real and effective, it is important to reflect on your motives regularly. Practicing self-reflection. Take time regularly to think about your reasons to help. Ask yourself if you really act in the best interest of the other person or whether perhaps unconscious needs or wishes influence your actions. Search for feedback. It can be helpful to seek feedback from those you help or from third parties. This can help you get a better understanding of how your help is perceived and whether it is actually useful. Follow ethical guidelines. In professional contexts, such as social services or psychological counseling, compliance with ethical guidelines can help ensure that the help is in the best interest of the client. By understanding the differences between real and false help and regularly reflecting on our motives, we can ensure that our assistance is both honest and effective. Next, we will look at how you can build a supportive environment that supports you in your efforts to help effectively. We have undertaken a profound journey through the complex facets of assistance, exploring how it can have both a positive and negative effect. In this final chapter, we summarize the most important findings and offer concrete tips on how you can help without harming yourself or others. In addition, we call for the development of a more conscious understanding of the way we provide help. Summary of the most important findings. 1. Avoid excessive selflessness. Be careful not to neglect your own needs. Healthy self-care is crucial to avoid burnout and to be able to help effectively in the long term. 2. Promote empowerment instead of dependence. Help should aim to strengthen the independence of the recipient, not to bring him into a dependency. Authorize others by enduring them to develop their own solutions. 3. Respect boundaries. Both your own limits and those of others are important. Make sure to recognize and respect these limits in order to make relationships healthy and help effective. 4. Be aware of your motives. Reflect regularly on your motivations to help. Make sure that your help is done for the right reasons and does not serve as a means of self-evaluation or control. Sharpen your awareness of your own help. Take time to regularly rethink your approaches to help. Ask yourself if they are really in the best interest of the recipient and what long-term effects your help could have. Set healthy limits. Learn to say no when helping becomes too overwhelming or your own resources are exhausted. Setting limits is not a sign of weakness, but of self-respect and wisdom. Search for balance. Balance your helping activities with activities that bring you joy and relaxation. This helps to maintain your resilience and promote your ability to have a positive impact on others. By integrating these principles into your life, you can ensure that your assistance is of the greatest benefit to both you and those you help. Let's work together to promote a culture of conscious and healthy assistance.